One thing we talk a lot about in gun chats is which rounds are best for self-defense. Out of the acceptable range of rounds, like from 38 Special 380 up, which ones are the best? But yesterday I got asked a question that I haven't answered yet in a video, and that is, of those acceptable rounds, which one do I think is the worst? So I thought I'd take a moment today to answer that question. Now get ready to hear the sound of 1,000 prostates thudding on the floor as the supporters of this round, leap from their Barco loungers, or get medically assisted out of their Barco loungers. But I think the worst self-defense round available today in that acceptable category is the 45 ACP, or the 45 AARP as some people call it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the 45 ACP isn't a historic round. It is an historic round. It definitely has its place in history. It's a very important round. But like most of the people that support the round, it lost most of its importance, its vitality, its relevance somewhere during the Nixon administration. The 45 ACP made a lot more sense back when we didn't have the rounds we have today. We didn't have rounds that penetrated as well or expanded as reliably. So back then, it made sense to have that larger caliber so that you had a bigger chance of hitting something vital. But by modern day standards, the 45 ACP doesn't do anything very well. Much like many of the supporters of the 45 ACP, the round itself is, slow, it's fat, and, it has a little bit of a problem with penetration. If you're someone like me that was lucky enough to grow up in a country area where there was actually a car graveyard not far from my house, you got to shoot a lot of car windshields, a lot of doors, etc. when you were younger. And the 45 ACP, all you had to do was watch it bounce off of windshields and doors, and you started thinking, hey, this round's probably not all it's cracked up to be. I just don't think it's a very suitable round for today's self-defense environment. Now, I know there's going to be somebody out there that always says, yeah, but if you shoot someone with those smaller rounds like a 9mm, aren't you worried it's just going to pass right through them and not hit anything vital? Well, that is a concern. But something I'm more concerned about is if I actually shot somebody with a 45 ACP and they actually saw me pull the trigger at them, they'd just step out of the way before the bullet even got to them. I'm not saying the 45 ACP is a useless round or a bad round for when it was made. I'm just saying it's been made obsolete by modern manufacturing and modern technologies. And the 45 ACP has other issues too. It's just a bigger round, so therefore you can get fewer of them in a gun. And if you do get them in a gun, the gun has to be a little bit bigger to hold that larger round. And the performance of the 45 ACP just doesn't justify that loss of capacity or larger, heavier gun. Now, I know this opinion is not going to be very popular, and I know I'm going to get lots of angry comments on this video. Well, at least I will once they have their grandkids show them how to respond to videos once more. But, that's something I expect. Now, I'm not telling anyone, though, to not carry a 45 ACP. If you want to carry one, carry one. You're still well protected. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not as good as the other. It's always going to be popular with a certain subset of people, mostly people whose balls float in the toilet water when they sit down. But, it's always going to be around, I think. All I'm saying is that with the modern ammunitions that are available to you today, it gets harder and harder to justify the 45 ACP with the shortcomings that it has as being your self-defense round of choice. You ain't even my real dad.